So I just wanted to talk about different levels of stress and what it puts us through to explain our cravings for salt or sugar. Now, our body is very smart and it will tell us to crave certain things because it's trying to achieve homeostasis, which is balance. Now, when we crave salt, that usually means we're lacking salt, and that really affects our blood pressure, that affects some hormones, our metabolism. And when we're craving sugar, sugar can be in two ways. If we have an imbalance of gut flora, so bad flora to good flora, that bad flora will make us crave certain foods. But also too, if we're under a level of stress for too long, and we're only designed to be in stress mode for a short period of time, not a long period of time. And there's different ways of how we can create stress through our mental thought, constantly repetitive thoughts, a project at work, stressful situations, right? So there's different levels of stress that we put ourselves through. But when we have certain amount of stress for too long a period of time, your body thinks it's running away from a lion. And then we need sugar to run away from that lion, which is a form of glucose, right? When food gets converted into glucose and the body uses glucose as fuel. So kind of just a little paint a picture here, the most common ways of how we create stress. Lots of people go on low-calorie deficit diets. When you're not focusing on proper meal combinations, which is very important for metabolic consequences, but also too, if we don't focus on proper meal timing, it can cause a lot of stress within the body as well. But we'll go into a little bit more in depth in that. But the low-calorie deficit diet causes stress to the body, and when we're not eating enough or we're not eating proper macro micronutrients or trace minerals, it tells your adrenals to release adrenaline, okay? And adrenaline basically tells the body we're under attack, and when it's under attack, your body releases cortisol, and cortisol basically tells your body that food is scarce. So I don't want to release any fat off my body. Why? Because then insulin is released, and insulin is released to put glucose in your cells, right? Which is a form of sugar, and that is fuel for your body to run away from a lion. So if we're constantly have this vicious cycle going over and over again because we're going on a low-calorie deficit diet, then we will never lose weight, or we will lose weight to a temporary extent, but we will gain it back. That's one way of how we put ourselves through stress. Another way is lack of sleep. We need sleep, okay? Now, a lot of people will shorten their sleeps, and basically sleep is an opportunity to allow your body to have a neurological reset, not only for your cells, but for your brain, okay? Your brain basically tells what, your body needs to do to repair or rejuvenate, and it also tells what cells to recycle, die, and or create new cells, okay? So lack of sleep will cause stress to the body, which tells the adrenals to release adrenaline, that we're under attack, okay? And then the food is scarce. So when food is scarce, you're not able to actually metabolize things properly because you're not functioning, you haven't had a full amount of sleep, so you're not functioning properly. So then when you do eat carbohydrates, you actually fall asleep and you're very lethargic, right? So that's where that plays in the level role, but you're still craving sugar. Why? Because you're not functioning properly, all right? Then we're in levels of stress for too long. So I'm talking about like a month, 2 months, 6 months, all right? And different stress can happen to different people. A death can happen. We can think a lot of stress. We're studying for exam. We have a project. There's so many levels of stress, but I mean, even a divorce, okay? This amount, when your cortisol is high for too long of time, then the insulin will eventually be released, okay? And then when the insulin is released, basically your body thinks is running from a lion for 6 months. And that can cause a lot of inflammation within the body. But when your body is running away from a lion, you are also craving sugar, okay? Because, and I'm talking about not only like your carbs and your pizza, breads, all that stuff, chips, I'm talking about even coffee, because coffee gets your adrenaline going, okay? And then we need to constantly run away from that line. I honestly thought that coffee was not a craving. I just enjoyed it. But it was really interesting when I started to implement certain tests. I didn't crave sugar anymore, or crave coffee is what I'm saying, because I was able to control my cravings. So again, it's another vicious circle, right? But let's look at menopause, okay? Now, menopause, when we no longer actually produce estrogen from our ovaries, right? If you're under adrenal fatigue by not sleeping properly, then again, the body thinks it's under attack and you're chasing, you're running away from that lion. So then we also look at fertility. There's so many people trying to get pregnant, and whether you are wanting to get pregnant, which myself, I will in a short period of time here, you need to prepare your body to focus on health and not so much stress. When we are under stress, again, it tells your adrenals to release adrenaline, and that tells your body it's under attack. Then the cortisol says, well, I am under attack. Well, when you decide to have a child, your body's like, well, I'm not going to have a child in this stressful environment. So you won't be able, you'll have trouble with fertility. And again, everybody is different, but I'm just trying to paint a picture for you, okay? There is a constant vicious circle in how we do this. Your adrenals not only release adrenaline, but it also releases a hormone called aldosterone. And aldosterone helps balance your potassium and sodium levels within the body. So your electrolyte imbalance. But when you have an imbalance of that, that causes salt cravings. That's why we have all these cravings. A lot of people with low blood pressure will have a lot of salt cravings because we have an imbalance. We have adrenal fatigue. We may be dealing with some menopause. We may be dealing with a lack of sleep. We may be dealing a whole stressful environment. We may be trying to lose weight when we're hitting menopause. So really you need to understand that if our body is not controlled by stress, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth, but if we're not controlling our stress levels through our actions, our daily actions, as well as our meal combinations and our meal timing, and another thing is our breathing to control our fight or flight mechanism when we're running away from a lion, and not focusing on rest and repair and rejuvenation and meditation or deep breathing, then we will be forever struggling to trying to lose weight. We will be forever struggling to try and reach optimal health or cellular health within the body. So hopefully this gives you a perspective as well as an understanding of how your hormones work. Obviously, I'm not going into a lot of depth, but I want you to just have an understanding of how those hormones work with your body.